Square has finally shown some gameplay and has laid out some more details of their Final Fantasy VII Remake that everyone was asking for years, and now I feel like it's one of those cases of watch what you wish for.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I'll start off quickly by saying that I enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. I am not married to the game. I do not have the adoration for it that so many people do. So by way of that, there's far less for me to get worked up over here. They showed their trailer with the gameplay added, and I'll say the game looks damn nice. The action looks hack and slashy, maybe similar to something like Kingdom Hearts. And all in all, it looks like something I would play. But there's a couple of problems that have arisen that have got people worried. One, I can't remember the name and I don't have it pulled up. There's worry that there is another developer attached to this behind the scenes that is not Square that might be working on part of it. But the bigger issue is that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be episodic. And even with explanation from Square, no one really knows what that means. Initially, people felt like, it might be like the discs in the game, On to disc 1, you gotta wait for another episode. On to disc 2, you gotta wait for another episode to get to disc 3. And it's still kind of cloudy. Yoshinori Kitase, who is the director of the original game, has come out and said that they want to do it episodic because they want to expand beyond what the original game was. He even says, quoting, he wants to explore the underground and the depths of Midgar. He wants to explore above the planet and see what's going on up there, which all sounds well and good. It almost sounds like we might get an episode that is actually Final Fantasy VII as we kind of remember it, and then get additional episodes that expound on it. I'm not actually too wild about that idea. It's the reason why I never watched Advent Children or anything like that. I was happy enough with what Final Fantasy VII gave me. I didn't need any of the expounding. But then he goes on to say that without the additional episodes, what you would get would be a squashed, very short version of Final Fantasy VII. So what does that mean? Why? Why is that what that means? Why not put more time into it and just flesh the game out and finish it? Is this... And they've also mentioned that there might be lengthy time. There might be good lengths of time in between episodes. Are they hoping that initial episodes will fund later episodes? Is there not as much money behind this as people might think? It's worrisome because all we have are pretty pictures, and we now know that it's going to be an action-based system. Yet we have no real clear answers on what the game's going to be or how they're going to keep the story intact.
I'll be the cynic and think maybe it's a money thing. If they figure, all right, we can spend our time and put out a Final Fantasy game and charge you $60 and put it on a disc or whatever, or you can download for $60, or we can break it up into 4 parts and charge $25 an episode and get $100 out of you. And you're going to pay for it because you're going to want to play the entire game.
And the weird thing is, though, is that they say that each episode is going to be the length of a full-length game. Well, that doesn't actually answer anything for me, because
full-length game of what?
A full-length game could be 8 hours. A full-length game could be 60 hours. You didn't say it's going to be the length of a full-length RPG, or you didn't say that's going to be the length of a full-length action game.
They put out modern Final Fantasy still.
Right.
So why would it be any different than getting a new Final Fantasy game?
Right. But exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense.
If a modern Final... Well, 13 was probably like 40 hours. But if Final Fantasy VII is 55 hours on a run through your first time and you're poking around, I don't see why that is any harder to do than what they've done with other Final Fantasies.
So it's not far outside the line of a typical Final Fantasy. So then why have to break it up?
And I think this is where people get confused, and this is where I'm confused, and I think this is where further clarification is required, despite the fact that they've tried to and failed to clarify this 2 times. You say you want to expound on the universe. That's fine, but does that mean you're going to... I have a feeling that what this means is that they're going to bloat the game. That we're not going to get Final Fantasy VII in a chunk, and then additional episodes that expound on things. They're going to shoehorn things in. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? They're going to add parts to the story that weren't there initially that will lengthen the game at the cost of making it much longer and much more expensive. And I don't know. I mean, I have not had a lot of faith in modern Square Enix. I did like Final Fantasy Type 0, and I do like Final Fantasy 14, which is a very fun game, but I don't have faith in them doing this any sort of justice. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't have a horse in this race, but yeah, I think you owe it to your fans to tell them how this is going to be released clearly. Is it going to be 3 parts? Are we talking 5 parts?
I mean,
what's the length in between these episodes? Is it like you got to wait 6 months to continue the game from when you remember on the PlayStation? You're like,
right.
All right, that's fine. I'm a quarter way through. When does the next part come?
If you're if you're rewriting it to write the story that you wanted to write, and you're going to stretch it out to the length of what could be 3 separate installments, because they did Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, and Lightning Returns, and those were all full-length games. If that's what you mean by episodic, that's fine, but you have to fucking convey that.
Sure.